Welcome to Women Rising, the space where faith meets stories that ignite transformation. This is a sacred space where women of faith will open their hearts and share the real, raw, and remarkable journeys that have shaped their lives. Here in Women Rising, we celebrate resilience. We honor courage that it takes to rise after a fall and embrace the growth that truly, truly comes through the grace of God. So, sisters, whether you're in the valley or standing on the mountaintop, this conversation is an invitation for you to believe again, to rise again, and to walk boldly in the fullness of God and become who He is calling you to be. I'm Mary Catherine Morales, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Women of Principle community. We are celebrating our 5-year anniversary, and I am so excited to bring to you a woman of faith, someone I met over 10 years ago now. And she truly is a remarkable woman who exemplifies what transformation looks like. Let me introduce you to Sheila McGovern, whose journey began amidst a landscape of challenges and true adversity. And I know this because I was with you on some of that journey about 10 or 11 years ago. But she had a defining moment. She made a bold choice. Enough was enough. And she refused to be defined by the past. She traded a victim mindset for one of victory. With unwavering determination, I have watched her face so many obstacles head on and rise through the struggles to a life that she lives today that defines success. Sheila, welcome to the Women Rising discussion.
Hey, MK. Thank you
Hi.
for having me on, and congratulations on 5 years. I didn't realize you had this so long. That's amazing.
Thank you. It was really a God thing. It was in the middle of COVID.
Mhm.
Do you remember when it was in the beginning of the lockdown and, people on social media were playing music, guitars, pianos, they were singing, they were reading poetry and things of that
Absolutely.
nature. And I said to the Holy Spirit, I was standing in the bathroom getting ready and I was like, what can I do? And I ignited, that's really when I started the Women of Principle community. He said 30 days of prayer, and that kind of launched us into our 5 years of building our community.
That's so cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Good for
It's,
you.
and what's really remarkable, and that's why I have this amazing woman behind me on
Mhm.
the wall. It really is for all of us women of faith about transforming the way that we think,
Uh-huh.
because
Absolutely.
it transforms the way that we live.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, one of the reasons I reached out to you after so many years is I have watched your journey of transformation. And I wanted to kick today's discussion off. Tell us a little bit about where you were about 7 years ago and that moment where you said, enough is enough.
Yeah, I would say I was in a very, very dark place. I was drinking. I was 265 pounds. I'm 5'1". If that made a picture for you guys. I mean, you saw me. I was afraid of my own shadow. I hated life. And I was just drinking and doing drugs to numb myself.
Mhm.
And the man I was dating at the time, we had the definition of a toxic relationship. And we'd fight a lot, verbal fights, not physical. And I would call one of my best friends all the time. And to this day, I always laugh at him. I don't know why he would answer. And this one time I called him just bawling, I hate my life. I don't want to be here. I've, wasted my time. And he asked me the most powerful question. And it was a very simple question, but it was so powerful. He goes, Sheila, do you want help? And I really don't remember the conversation. I just remember screaming, yes, I want help. I can't take it anymore. Please help me. And he worked tirelessly that night to get me help. And I was really drunk that night. So I don't remember much of it. And he ended up getting me on the phone with this gentleman, one of the best guys I've ever met to this day. And we got me signed up for treatment. and I had a flight leaving the next morning. I went to bed, and I don't know if you remember these days, but I would drink and I wouldn't remember things. So I woke up at like 3 in the morning trying to figure out what I did that night. And I'm piecing the night together, and I'm like, oh my God, I signed up for treatment. I'm leaving in the morning. No, not happening. I ran to the computer and I canceled everything. And I
Wow.
went back to bed. And the next morning I had to tuck my tail between the legs, call my friend, call the gentleman that helped me. And both were upset. But the gentleman that helped me very kindly and softly said, Sheila, come have lunch with me. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I've got this. I just overreacted. And again, his response was, Sheila, just come have lunch with me. I'm like, okay, I'm a people pleaser. Fine. I'll have lunch with you. So I go have lunch with him. And we didn't talk about my drinking problem, my alcohol problem. We didn't talk about anything. We just talked about life and goals and dreams and ambitions. And I left lunch knowing that
Mm.
I needed to go. So I went back home and I rebooked my flight. And 5 days later, I spent 45 days in South Padre Island, Texas. And just kind of that was where my beautiful life began.
Wow. And
Hmm.
take us into that moment. So I love that question. I actually have Holy Spirit bumps right now. So we're speaking into a woman's heart right now, and take us into that moment, right? So when he asked you, Sheila, what are your dreams and aspirations? What do you really want for your life? What is one thing that you might have thought about in that moment that 7 or 8 years later, you're now living out that dream?
My why is to inspire people and to lift people up. And the old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So while I wanted to be effective at it then, I really wasn't. So back then, I really wanted to help people, elevate people, cheer people on. Everybody says I'm the best hype woman. And 7, 8 years later, that's what I'm doing. I'm anybody I cross paths with. I don't care if it's the person bagging my groceries, a colleague, my family member. I am just always elevating them up from
And
a
I
truth
have to
in
say,
space. Hmm.
and I agree with you. I remember going back. So Sheila and I went through a 2 year intense leadership program,
Hmm.
and she and I spent hundreds of hours
Yeah,
together
we
over
sure
that.
did. We sure
And
did.
very dynamic, very bold, very life-changing moments. And when I look back at the Sheila that was 265 pounds, it's I still see the same beauty in you today that I saw then. It just has manifested differently. And I always remember thinking that I could see the desire in your eyes to be a different version of yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
But you, even then, you really were someone in that group that lifted others up and helped them to get through those moments in that intensive program, which, by the way, changed both of our lives.
What absolutely did. That was honestly the beginning of the new life for me. It took a few more years after that, but that's when I started speaking differently and realizing how important words were. And
Mm.
the possibility of loving myself was there. I definitely didn't then. I didn't for a few more years, but it was the seed that was planted almost. And then it grew over the next few years to where I am 8 years later, 10 years later with the training. But yeah.
So, when you and I were preparing for this conversation today, you said something that I think is really important, and that your transformation, the journey of transforming the way that you think, the way that you speak, and the way that you live, wasn't something that happened overnight. It was something that you said took you 7 years.
Mhm.
So, give us a snapshot of maybe something you used to believe about yourself and what that is, and then how you began to transform the way that you think and the way that you speak to kind of become who God says you are.
Right. I can sum it up in one word, and it's worthiness. I didn't think I was worthy of a good life, of being happy, of loving myself, of really succeeding, of helping others. It was a big worthy conversation. I thought I was succinctly a loser and just wasn't deserving of it. And I'll tell you, in treatment, I had several counselors, but one of them, I, I never really spoke with therapists before until treatment. And Man, we would get deep and I would cry a lot. Like all these things that I just stuffed down were coming up and I didn't know how to handle it because I didn't have drugs or alcohol. So I was really feeling these raw emotions and I was having a really rough day one day. And the counselor looked at me and she paused and it was almost like God was channeling through her.
Mm,
And she looked at me and she goes, Sheila, God doesn't make junk. And I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, like, you're right. So that
mm.
big forward, little by little, day by day, I just started giving myself the love that I knew I needed to the point where I paid attention to the words I said. Like, I wouldn't say I'm fat or I'm a loser or, just being negative. And slowly and, day by day, by choosing different words and looking at things through a different lens, my brain has literally been rewired. Like I think about my thoughts then compared to my thoughts now. And I was always a great, nice, funny, humorous, loving person, but now it's just, I don't want to say it's all sunshine and rainbows because I'm a human. We have our days,
Sure.
but comparatively, it was all black all the time. And now life is great. I'm so grateful to be alive and to be here and just to be living the life I'm living today.
And I love that we're reminding, that it actually, the journey of transformation is actually a journey,
It is.
not a destination,
Mhm. Yeah.
because, you know, you are now an athlete, you're a competitive athlete, you do mutters and competitions, and this is the story of transformation. So even though you're on this powerful transformation, and the Bible in Romans 12:2 says that we are to be transformed by the renewing of our mind.
Mhm.
And when I hear you talk about worthiness, that's something I can so relate to because I too am a recovered addict. I just celebrated my 19 years. I'm in my second day of my 20th year. And when I think back to the story of unworthiness that I carried, that I was never smart enough, I was never talented enough, I was always second, third, or fourth, right?
Mhm.
And even, I was 10 years sober when you and I took the gratitude training.
Mhm.
And I remember 10 years into my sobriety, still feeling empty,
Mhm.
still feeling as though I was living somebody else's life. And I'll never forget my defining moment was our friend Josh.
Mhm. Oh, yes.
He was my coach at that time, and I was driving, and where yours was really worthiness, mine was an addiction to looking perfect.
Right.
And he said to me in a kind of a sarcastic way
As Josh does.
that only Josh does. And he's like, why are you always trying to be perfect, MK? He's like, tell me one thing you've ever done perfectly, ever.
Mhm.
And the only thing I could think of in that moment was breathe,
Wow.
which was the greatest gift that, the Ruach of God, the breath of God that had kept me alive through my addiction, through my adversity. And it was in that moment where I feel like the same way you were asked that question, with your therapist, that was one of my defining moments where I
Mhm.
realized I didn't have to be perfect to be loved. I didn't have to
Mhm.
be perfect to have intimate relationships. And it was part of my own journey of transformation.
Mhm. I love that. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And,
So,
and to your journey point, a lot of people, myself included, prior, I'll be happy when. I'll be
yeah.
happy when I'm sober. I'll be happy when I'm skinny. I'll be happy when I have kids. And I know you love Ed Milet the way I do. And he says the most beautiful phrase that I've really tried to hone in on, and it's blissfully dissatisfied. Meaning, you can be happy right now, but you can be dissatisfied and you still want to grow. Do
Yeah.
not put off happiness for the until you get there, or you're going to have, a very long life. This is our one shot. So you get to be
It,
happy now, but don't stop striving to be better. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm very jovial and happy and loving life, and I still have goals.
yes. And we still want more.
More, absolutely.
Like I love to say, today is a great day. It's
It
the
is.
best day. And yet
Yep.
the best is still yet to come because we have breath in our lungs and we have the opportunity to live and love and be bold today.
Amen, sister.
How do you find strength today when circumstances feel overwhelming to you? What are the tools that you use on a daily basis to move in the direction of your dreams?
You know what's so funny is I take a breath. It's like what you just
That,
said. It's
yeah.
very powerful, but getting present, like realizing that whatever you're going through at the moment, it's temporary. Everything is temporary, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, it's temporary. So if it's bad, we're humans, so I'm not telling you not to feel it. Go through it, whatever it is. And if there's a lesson, find a lesson. And if there's not a lesson, I always look for something to be grateful for. So I have an acronym that I go to, and it's got two meanings. It's ABG. Always be grateful, always be growing. So when I presence myself in those stressful moments, I look for something to grow with. And if I can't find that, I find something to be grateful for, because there's always something to be grateful for. Always.
Always.
Yeah. And I heard this line during COVID for the growth part that just it was a game changer for me. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? So in those stressful moments, I try to remember that too. Okay, I've got a client yelling at me. Where am I going with this? Or whatever it is in life. And that really helps me a lot. So I breathe and then I go there.
That's so good. And that's going to be part of our Women Rising retreat on May 17th is
Mhm.
we have someone coming in to teach the power of breath
Oh, wow.
and how it actually has the ability to transform the way that we think, how we
Mhm.
show up, how we feel about ourselves. I remember as I was going through the gratitude training, I was petrified of public speaking
Mhm.
because for whatever reason, I got into a negative loop where, again, I was trying to be perfect.
Mhm.
And I remember I was actually at a meeting with a mutual friend of ours, Connor, and we were sitting around his table in Delray with a group of leaders, and I could not feel my face.
Wow.
I was so afraid of speaking. I had created this story and this belief system in that leading up to that moment that I
Mhm.
wasn't actually worthy, going back to your word of being at that table and leading that meeting, that it showed up in my physical body as fear.
Wow.
And I remember leaving when we were standing in the parking lot, and a friend of mine, Kim, looked at me and she's like, what is wrong with you? Like,
Mhm.
what happened to you in that moment? She said, you're surrounded by people who said yes to you sitting at that table. They said yes to being on this committee.
Mhm.
And it was because I didn't believe that I had what I needed to have, and I was trying to be perfect instead of connecting with
Yeah.
the people around me. And I
Right.
bring it back to I had to learn how to breathe to be
Mhm.
present in my body. So I
Right.
love what you're sharing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the same thing. I used to hate public speaking. I mean, I was afraid of my own shadow. I would joke like I made the cowardly lion look brave. I mean, you saw me in gratitude, I would always hide. And as I started loving myself and getting more confident with myself, and then I started speaking, and I listened to podcasts and I listened to a lot of speakers, and I heard the best piece of advice that's really helped me with my speaking career. And it's not about me. It's about them. It's about delivering to your audience. So I'm very outwardly focused, and that was all I needed to hear. So it's every time I go up there, I remind myself it doesn't matter if I fumble words, even if I fall. It's not about me. It's about the message that I give to these people to make their lives better.
And when we remember that our life and our journey of transformation is a gift from God, like I know a lot of women of faith that would say things like, God's got it. God will
Mhm.
take care of it. Jesus has the wheel, so to speak.
Yep,
And that's true,
a hundred
but
percent.
we are the co-creator of our life. Like you said, you nailed it earlier. You only have one shot. This is it right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is our day. This is the opportunity to take our adversity,
Mm-hmm.
show thanks and gratitude, and live the very best life that we can. And what inspired me about your journey, because again, I had watched you on social media little by little by little go from the former version of yourself, which was beautiful and powerful and loving, to a 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 version of Sheila. So, and I remember the first time, it's almost like your transformation was catalytic. Like
Hmm.
I saw you doing these things, and then boom, it's like the weight left, the confidence was like ignited. So, what have you learned about yourself through this 7 year journey? Um, what is the one thing that you could say, this is the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself?
Keeping promises. And
Oh, that's big.
that's how you get your confidence. Like I, even with the races that I did, there were so many times I didn't want to do it, but I said I was going to do it and I did it. And every time I did one of those races, my confidence got a little bit more. And before, I would always sell out on absolutely everything. And hence, I was very unconfident and didn't love myself nor my life. But the minute I started keeping promises
Mm,
consistently, consistency compounds. So every
yes,
little promise I kept, even if it was something as simple as I'm getting up at 6 in the morning, whatever that was, like if you say you're going to do it, do it. Like you owe it to yourself. Like I heard someone say the other day, it was kind of funny. Like if you have to pick your kids up at 2, are you going to say, oh, I don't feel like doing it? Or no, you're absolutely not. You're going to pick your kid up. Keep those promises to yourself. And it's
yes.
incredible what that does.
I could talk about this subject. I don't know if you remember, when we were in gratitude training, Barry talked
Mhm.
about the power of being your word and keeping your promises.
Mhm.
And I talk about this in my book, Becoming a Woman of Principle, because it was one of the moments that literally changed my life,
Mhm.
where through the story of this group of people that had not kept their promise to show up on time, remember they used to shut the doors?
Yes, sure
If
do.
you were not there by a certain time, they would shut the doors.
Mhm.
And so they had shut the doors and then they reopened them, and a group of people walked through the door.
Mhm.
And Barry asked a question that was not only for those 3 to 5 people, but for all of us in the room. And it was, what was more important to you today
Yeah.
than being your word and to yourself?
Right.
What was more important to you? And he took us through a powerful lesson and what happens when we don't keep our promises to ourselves and how it actually impacts everyone around us.
Mhm.
It was a drop the mic moment. So if someone's listening today, and you and I, again, we learned that over 2 years. I mean, we were put in conversations over and over and over again to be our word and to keep our promises. So if there's a woman of faith today listening in, what is one tip that or tool that you would share with her to say, try this one thing to become better at keeping the promises you make to yourself?
Don't go from 0 to 60. There's 59 numbers in between that. Start small. Like me with the gym, for example. If I would have done what I'm doing now in the gym 7 years ago, I would have stopped immediately. So it's a confidence builder. So make a little promise. Maybe it's folding the laundry by 10 o'clock. Maybe it's taking a walk around the neighborhood. Do that for a few weeks and then level up. All right, I walked around the neighborhood once last week. Let me go 2 times. And before you know it, you're at the gym doing things you never thought you could do. So just kind of baby step it, but keep your word with every single thing you say you're going to do and watch what happens. Your life's going to be 180 degrees difference.
I love that principle. I call it the 1% principle. And
Mhm.
of course, there's the book, The Atomic Habits,
Yes. It's a
that is
great one.
also a great book. And that's what I teach in my coaching programs and my workshops is exactly what you shared, is that you really can't go from 0 to 60, like you said.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can go from 0 to 1 and zero
Yep.
to two. So I always teach, just get 1% better every day.
Absolutely.
And what the book Atomic Habits actually talks about is his research is when you apply what Sheila is talking about, that get up and do that 1% better every day, in just 1 year, you're 35% stronger. So, and that might be your bank account. Like if you're in financial situation that you have 35% more in your savings account, or you lose weight and you have more energy and more joy and more confidence. I know that's how I apply my work at the foundation where I lead a team. I've had a goal. There's a number on my vision board right behind you, and it says $50 million. Now, our team goal was 34,
Hmm.
but I knew, Sheila, we had what it took to not only get to the goal, but beyond. But there was no evidence. I had never done it before. We had never done it before. We had never been a $50 million team.
Hmm.
All we did every day was get up and get 1% better every
Yeah.
day. And we've exceeded that goal that's on my vision board, and we did it as a team.
Wow.
So, my next question is, how do you apply your 1% principle and your transformational journey in your career? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm an insurance agent currently, but I'm also working on keynote speaking. I did give my first keynote last year, and I've got two signed up this year. So it's kind of just mapping that out. I hired a coach, and every day I do a little bit of work and a little bit, by 365 days, to your point, it's going to be a whole year's worth of work by just doing a little bit every day. So I just am consistent with it, and regardless of what day it is or how I'm feeling that day or what's going on that day, even if I just do 5 minutes, it's just something I have to do every single day, keeping the promise. And even our program, like one day at a time, just focus on today, don't look at tomorrow. Right now is all that matters.
It's
So
true.
that's what I would say. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. I mean, there's that old saying too, like if you look forward, you're anxious, and if you look back, you're depressed. Like just be present, create the joy, create the memories, and just give it your best right now. Because right now is really, in the grand scheme of things, all that matters. Because you don't know what's going to happen even in 10 seconds.
It's so true. And I love what you're saying, because what you focus on choose to becomes your reality.
Yeah,
And by focusing on this conversation and being fully present, it comes alive, right?
because
And if, whatever we do next when we roll out of this Women Rising conversation, to give it your all and to be fully present in the next moment and the next moment, because the God is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
mhm,
And I think what we minimize is that we are the champion of our dreams.
mhm, we absolutely.
And if we're not practicing keeping our word to ourselves, we end up feeling badly about ourselves because we put ourselves second or third or fourth or fifth.
Mhm, mhm.
And we begin to live somebody else's dream. And it
Yep.
doesn't feel good.
No. And I would say with that too, give yourself grace as well, because we are humans, we're not robots. We're not going to be
That's
perfect
true.
all the time. But when you have those minutes of falling down, just don't live in it. Have your 5 minutes, have your 10 minutes, or even a day, just depending on what it is, but
That's right.
get off of it. Be graceful, be kind to yourself for whatever you did or did not do. Learn, be grateful, and carry on.
Amen. And you bring up a really good point, because there are moments in our life where being the champion of our dreams actually does mean taking a nap.
Yeah.
It actually does mean just go for a walk on the beach, or
Mhm.
you and I were talking about this, like even in my own journey, it's like, okay, I'm going to choose a salad over a pepperoni pizza,
Right.
but then some days I choose the pepperoni pizza because I love it and I want to give myself a break.
Hmm.
Um, So, as we close out today's mini conversation, I want to let the women in the community know that Sheila is going to be one of our pop-up testi- testimony speakers at the Women Rising Retreat. And I promise you, you're going to want to hear more of her story. I also want to invite you, if you're listening today, to join us in May at the Women Rising Retreat. Imagine walking into a room of women where there's music and shopping and mingling and fresh foods and salads and coffees and teas. and a room full of beautiful decor, and all of it is just for you. So I want to invite you to make an investment in yourself and join Sheila and I at the Women Rising retreat. We have 25 seats left in the room, and we would love for you to be one of the girls in the room. So, Sheila, if you were to speak into the heart of a woman today, um, what would you say to her if she's in the valley right now and she's not on the mountaintop? What would you say to her today?
Love yourself. Love yourself. You are perfect. You're an amazing human being, and you're unique, and that's what makes you you. Like, you're literally more rare than the rarest gemstones on this planet. I mean, and that's your superpower. There is no other you. So that is, embrace that and love that for whatever, everything you have. You're perfect, you're amazing, and just love yourself.
And how, tell her one way to do that today. Like, what are some of the things that you did to shift from as you started on your journey? What is one thing you used to do to show yourself love?
That's a hard thing to answer because it depends on the day. There were some days where I did need to rest, so I gave myself the nap or a little bit of TV. There were some days where I knew it was like, it was me using that as a scapegoat. So I would get up and go to the gym. I'd get a massage. I would just take care of myself, take a bath, whatever you feel like. Ask yourself what you need that day. And if you need whatever it is that comes out, as long as it's not something toxic to you, do it. Give yourself what you need.
That's such good advice. It's advice I'll take myself this weekend as I, go into my quiet places and spaces and prepare my own heart for the retreat and pray for God's wisdom, to write uh, the script and to create a space that will help her to grow and to flourish because we really believe in this community. And what I truly, truly believe is that transformation begins in the mind, but it takes root in the spirit. And I remember one of the very first scriptures I ever remembered, because we believe in the promises of God, is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And there were so many days on my 19 years of getting sober where I had to use that one promise from God to get over the fear of public speaking, to rebuild my relationships with my family, and to become who I am today. And the promise that I remember I was standing out in my backyard, and I remember it was just such a hard day, and I was like, no, no, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that means all. And it's such a simple phrase, but that one promise from God is something I still use today.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. So, Sheila, thank you so much for opening your heart, sharing your stories of courage, resilience, and overcoming adversity. You truly are a wonderful, beautiful, imperfectly perfect example of the power of transformation.
Thank you, MK. Thank you for inviting me. This is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. And ladies, we can't wait to see you. Put your comments in the chat. Let us know if you have questions. Let us know your thoughts, what you're thinking and how you're feeling, because we truly are stronger together. So God bless you and see you next time.